best-selling thriller author Ellis Hawker is, you can say that 10 times real fast on the Happy Hour Show. She's our next guest on Big Blend Radio's Authors Happy Hour Show, and she's joining us to talk about her latest novel. It's called The Throwaways. It's a thriller, and it diverges from her first 3 novels in narrative style and remains loosely connected to the plot of her USA Today best-selling debut, The Drowning Game. And you can go to her website, lshawker.com. Of course, get the book on Amazon, all those places. And all I can say is Nancy started reading the book, and every morning walk started to tell me everything that was going on.
I'm so bad at that.
She's like, you're not going to believe what just happened next, man. So welcome to the show, Ellis. So excited to chat with you. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, Nancy just you've got to do the overview of the book, because if Nancy does it, what she did to me, she spilled all. But she's just like, where is the author's head on this? Like, really? Like, she's like, who would think up this kind of stuff? And then I started reading about you, and I'm like, okay, she's really cool. So really happy to have you here. But yeah, it sounds pretty crazy, this book.
Please explain yourself.
Yes, explain The Throwaways without Nancy doing it.
No, you don't want me to.
Okay, I am happy to do so. So this guy, it's back in the 80s, and this guy is kind of a slacker, kind of has never found his way in life, late 20s, and one night this girl asks him for a ride as he's at the liquor store. And the next thing he knows, he's waking up behind a house that blows up with a bunch of contraband on his back seat, and no memory of how he got there. And his name is George, and George ends up going to his hometown, which is a small farm town in Kansas called Niobe, to hide because he's afraid the police are going to come after him. Whoever is responsible for this explosion is going to come after him. And he gets back together with his best high school friends, trying to figure out what to do. And all of them have their own issues at this point. Because, of course, in your late 20s is kind of the point in your life where you're going, what does it all mean? Who am I? What am I doing with my life? And George has made an art out of that.
See, this is so cool, because I remember, that was the first thing Nancy's like, when you wake up somewhere and you wonder what the hell you did the night before, like, back in the day. So where did this, because that.
Well, there's, yes.
Yes, where did this idea come from? I just want to know.
Well, this is funny, a friend of mine, I went to the University of Kansas, and of course the book starts in Lawrence, Kansas, which is where the University of Kansas is. And when I first got there, I had friends from a small town in Kansas, of course, and he went to the liquor store, 18 years old, still had hay in his hair, and this guy asks him for a ride, and he ended up in a place that he wasn't supposed to be. And it was a very dangerous situation. And I always wondered, what would have happened had the worst happened, because he survived unscathed, thank goodness. But I always wondered, and that's, of course, how stories always start, right? Well, what if X happened?
Yeah, exactly.
The close call. So obviously this story takes a real divergent turn from what actually happened to my friend, but that's where the fun comes in, right, is imagining all these crazy things that happen after that.
So it's interesting, because you've got the 3 novels before, but this actually goes back to The Drowning Game with one of the characters, right?
2 of the characters are actually in The Drowning Game.
Okay.
See, now The Drowning Game takes place present day, and so George, our protagonist, and then one of the other protagonists, Kurt, are both in The Drowning Game in their 50s as crewmen. And then, of course, the Throwaways, they're in their 20s. So, getting to see them first as older, middle-aged people, and then in this book, seeing them as 20-somethings is just a lot of fun. So, and there are minor characters in The Drowning Game, but yeah.
I mean, to write it in a different perspective, it's like tapping into your character in a different way. Did you write this one like now versus The Drowning Game, or did you write them together to be able to, streamline their character, make it all flow?
Yeah. No, actually, how this worked was I actually wrote about these characters back when I was in college in a short story for a writer's workshop in college. And it was basically these guys just kind of driving around this small town and talking, right? And so I kind of had worked on the Throwaways a long time ago. But it was before I really kind of knew what I was doing. And so basically nothing happened in the book. I mean, these guys just drove around, talked, and who cares, right? But then when I went on to write The Drowning Game, I started it in 2013. And my two main characters, Petty and Decker, are on the run. And they needed like an Obi-Wan figure to go to, somebody to go to for advice, an older person, right? Because these Petty and Decker are both in their early 20s. And so it just like sprang into my mind, oh my gosh, Kurt is Decker's uncle. I can write him as a 50-something-year-old. And it was such a blast to kind of fast forward after having written this character as a 20-something to a late middle-aged man. It was a blast. It was so much fun. And just to be able to pluck him out of another story and put him into The Drowning Game was such a gift. It really was.
Well, that's interesting to write from a male perspective too, because
right.
women are so complex. So that's I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. If I'm not. You know what I mean? There's a.
Yes,
Isn't it different?
Okay, here's a question. If you're sitting at a bar and there's men and women there.
It's happy hour, yeah.
It's happy hour, so I have a bar question. And there's men and women there, and they're all sizing each other up, right? They're all looking at each other. Okay, who is more observant down to detail, the men or the women? What do you think?
Well, the women definitely are, in my experience.
See how she just jumped in there with that?
Yeah. I mean, well, it's true, right? I mean, women typically use both halves of their brain. Both halves of their brain are closer together than in the male anatomy. That's just a fact. And so we're able to jump back and forth between the halves of our brains. And so therefore, I mean, we can see millions of more colors than men can see, all these differences, right? So the way that men think is very A plus B equals C, cause and effect, whereas women more think in a spiral. And so they're taking in all this sensory information all at once, whereas men kind of tend to focus on what's in front of them. So yeah, it's very different writing men and women. And I would never say that men are simple, because they're not. But
no, they're not. It's just a different pattern.
So much different. Well,
a different way.
Absolutely.
A different way of doing it. So how much research do you do going into something like this to write as a man?
She closes her brain up or something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had to cleave them apart a little bit. But no, actually, when I first started writing, and I've been writing since I was 8 years old, like most crazy writers, but I, of course, when I was young, would write female characters, because, of course, that's what I knew. But what I found was that all of my female protagonists were me, only smarter, better looking, taller, and cooler. And I just could not get out of my own way. So I started writing from the male perspective, and it freed me up, because then I wasn't so self-conscious about these characters, With writing men characters, I was able to be more authentic, more transparent, and real than I was with female characters. Now this stretches back to, I wrote my second novel,
you can take your time.
Yeah, you can take your time on doing
exactly. But yeah, so I wrote 2 novels in the male perspective, and then the Throwaways, obviously male perspective, and then with the Throwaways, which was called something else originally, I said I'm going to get 100 rejections on this, and I'm going to start on something else. And so I got my 100 rejections, like I asked, and then I started on The Drowning Game, and it, of course, female protagonist, which I hadn't done since I was a kid. But I felt that I was old enough and experienced enough where I could stay out of my own way and not make it me, only cooler and taller and smarter and all that.
Wow. So now The Throwaways, that was a self-published one, right? versus the others?
Yes, I started my own publishing company to
Good
indie
girl.
publish it. The thing is that my first 3 novels were in a 3-book deal with HarperCollins, and I took the Throwaways to them, and they said, "Oh, we don't want you writing men. We only want you writing women, and we'd like to sign another contract with you."
They
write
would like
women.
to pigeonhole you.
They're so chicken,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
I mean, that's
how that works.
And, yeah, and we get that. It's like once you write like one song, every song should sound the same, you know. And then when they make you do that for like 5 years, then they're going, "Hey, nobody likes you anymore because you all sound the same," and you're like, "Whose fault is that?"
Well, exactly.
Just saying.
So it's hard to, it's hard then to get to do what you want, and you do start to feel pigeonholed. I got to tell you, when I got my contract from Harper and read in the contract that I was contractually bound to write females, I was gobsmacked. I was. This is in my contract. This is my contract. Holy cow! Now I have to say that my experience with Harper was absolutely fabulous, and I would love to work with them again, of course. But I just felt like
you have to go
Throwaways
female.
was a place. The editor who worked on the Throwaways also worked with me through Harper on Body and Bone, my second book, and The Drowning Game, my debut. So she's fantastic. She's one of the best, and it just felt to me that it was right, and I just wanted to get it out there because it was 2 years since my third novel, End of the Road, came out, and I was just, you know what, I want to put this out there. It's ready. It's really good. I love it, and these guys need to see the light of day.
You know, and I love this that you talk about that and the importance of an editor too, because that's huge. It's like having someone really work with you on an album. We come from a music background, so we get into that zone a lot. But it's very similar, even as publishers. You have to have that. Someone has to cut the babies, and it's important to have the right person to cut the babies. You know, it is. Yeah. You have to have the right person. Yeah. Otherwise, if it's the wrong person, you're just going to fight. And and sometimes you can have a person that you're going to fight with over the babies, and then it's still going to be the right thing. But I think it's important what you're talking about and what you've done is I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, respect, the publishing contract, and still do my own thing because this is what's in me to do, and be the artist that you are. And I think that's a very important thing. It's integrity. I want to, on that note, just mention also that you've had a radio show called People Are So Stupid, which I really wish, I love that. I love that so much. But you and your daughter do podcasting together talking about this, the world of writing, too.
Exactly.
Your daughter, Chloe.
Yes, called the Lively Grand Cafe, yes.
That is
she
awesome.
actually lives in Boston right now, and so we have to do it remotely. And unfortunately, we don't get to do it as much as we would like to. But she's about to graduate from law school and move to D.C. And when she's working 80 hours a week, we'll have more luck doing more podcasting. But anyway, so she's also a writer, but she writes fantasy. And she has won some contests, and she goes with me to New York in the summer to Thriller Fest. Because it's one of the greatest writers conferences on the planet. Love it so much. Love to go there. And so she is a very talented writer, and she's a very talented editor as well. She just has the instinct and the thought that really needs to go into it, because just because you can spell things right does not mean you should be an editor. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I've seen a lot of people try to be editors who should not be editors. But Chloe definitely has the chops.
I think DC needs more fantasy writers
and editors too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to say it.
I know. I like the editor part too. But I think this is really neat. I mean, we're a mother-daughter team, and I always think it's really cool to see, family do things together as they can when they can. You've had such a fascinating background in regards to. I'm reading this: cocktail waitress, traveling Kmart portrait photographer, and witness to basement exorcisms. I did not write that. I'm reading this, and this is so cool.
I want to stop
on
that.
all of that, does that are you one of those? Are you like us? Do you go like because we are on this tour, the Love Your Parks tour? By the way, coming through your town next month or in June.
Oh, cool! Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that
we're going to
awesome.
be in Colorado.
I would love to get together.
Soon. Yeah. Now,
awesome.
so I want to spend happy hour with you in a park, people watching, because I know you've got to be a people watcher, right?
Come on.
You bet. Of course.
Yeah. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Okay, so people watching. Does that help you now when you write? Do you take? I mean, especially doing portrait photography, and I know you've also, journalism. You've done so much, but waitressing too. You get to know certain characters. Do they come into your stories?
Oh my gosh, yes. You bet they do, whether they want to or not. I actually now have friends who come to me and say, I want to be a character in your next book. As a matter of fact, Stasha in the Throwaways is based on my friend Stacy, who insisted on being a character in this book. And I said, okay, you got it, but just be careful what you wish for. But yeah, I always use real people as models for characters, a lot, not always, but a lot, because people to me are absolutely fascinating. And just being able to listen to how they talk and to be able to write that down and do it authentically is so much fun. And so, yeah, I've had a lot of crazy experiences in my life, needless to say, and they find their ways into my books also. So a lot of what you read actually has happened somewhere, sometime.
That's what Nancy said. It was interesting because she was like going, "What is in this person's mind? Where do they come up with this stuff?" And I'm like, she was like, "I want to meet the author because she was reading this, going, this is some crazy stuff." I'm watching my mouth here.
People are crazy. People are they're crazy. They do stuff like I don't know because depending on who you are, you either have that 3-second to 5-second, depending on who you talk to, of where information comes in and you assimilate and then you think and then respond, or you go base nature and information comes in and you totally react.
Yes.
And I love it because
too. Go ahead.
I was going to say the best place for like people watching is totally Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
Oh my, yes.
Oh,
haven't been there in a while, but I would have to agree. Yes.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's when you're also part of the Rocky Mountain Mystery Writers of America. I know you do their web work and Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers. That really helps. I'm thinking about aspiring writers. I mean, because writing is so solitary, and then I don't know. There's like play music really loud or not, or then you want to break something or not, and then you go out and meet each other. We have our friend Eva, Eldridge is a writer, and she goes to all these events and the Sisters of Crime and all of this stuff, and I'm like, how do you go from being,
I want to be alone.
From the alone thing to being around people, and does it help? It must help. I mean, to network and be connected to these organizations.
Absolutely. And I can write in a vacuum. You can't. And I've heard people say this before. People who are like, well, I don't have time to read, and I don't have time to be around people. And without those two things, what is there to write about? I mean, if you have no time to read, then you definitely have no time to write. And you don't have the tools if you don't read, for crying out loud. But I'm one of those people who really straddles the line between introvert and extrovert. So what I say is that I'm a loud introvert. So I do socialize a lot. I'm out doing things a lot, do a lot of conferences, do a lot of speaking and a lot of teaching, do workshops for other writers. And so, I kind of split my time between being alone, and I cherish both. I love them both.
Yeah. It's hard to do though sometimes. I think you have to change the brain. I guess that's where we have to multitask.
So if somebody said to you, I would like you to write a short story or a novel or a poem or whatever you wish to write, and I gave you a title, okay? And the title is My Big Toe. Why?
What would I do with that?
Yes, because if you're talking about people who don't read and don't talk to people and don't, I think they're just looking at their big toe. I don't know. So here's the thing,
kind of
my big toe.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. I mean, some of the people who are in a vacuum and trying to write, their stuff is very self-indulgent. It's very navel-gazy, and you have to be writing about people outside. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, how I used to write female characters who were me. And I think the best writing you're going to do, unless you're doing a memoir, obviously, or something like that, is writing about other people, not yourself.
Right.
Right. I like that. Okay, so are you ready to play the happy hour game? Because I think you know it's left. Oh wait. Oh, see, it's happy hour. Everything went backwards. Here we go. It happened. I did not do it.
Yes, you did.
So, if you could spend happy hour with anyone, alive or passed on, who would it be? Or fictional at this point. Why not? For somebody being, going through an exorcism, and spitting pea soup, that's fine too. But who would it be? Where would you spend it? And what are you going to drink? And I want to know what the gossip is because, I know you're going to get good gossip.
Well, I'll tell you, I thought about this, and I am a huge music head. I make playlists for all my novels, and I have a massive music collection. So I would love to spend happy hour with Billie Holiday, and I think I would want to be at the Algonquin in New York City, and I would drink a super dirty martini. Super fun site, dirty martini, and we would talk about music. We would talk about her influences and what it was like being a woman of color in that time period, and becoming as successful as she was, and how she had to scratch and claw, and she was a brilliant artist. As you know, she was a brilliant artist, and so I just would like to bask in her brilliance. To be honest with you, that's what I would love to do, and make her sing for me.
Yeah. I mean, no, because you know what, and I just, because we are on the road, and when you leave things, you leave, and we just left. We gave everything away again for the second time here in this country, and I at this point that was it. It was the final of the music thing too, and I had to say goodbye to my complete collection of hers.
Don't talk
and
about it.
I just was like, there's this something special, and I've had to give away so many record collections over the years. And I
that breaks my heart.
Well, it's like you get to this point. Why would you put anything in a storage unit and wouldn't you rather it be played? Wouldn't you prefer the books to be read?
Yeah, enjoying it, absolutely.
And that's where I got to that point, and I was just like, let it go. Let it go, be free.
Yeah.
Let it go, have a life. So I love that. And we have a super cool song to play for you, and it's called Red Light Shakedown. I thought you'd dig that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's fabulous.
I know. And this is from Borgo. Borgo is just down the road from you in Denver. And this is from his album Be Kind, Borgo Band, and is getting a new album out, which we cannot wait for.
Cool.
He's just like one of our favorite artists, independent artists, and he has musicians from Leftover Salmon playing with him. And but God, you're in Colorado. You are like a magic music land. You are. Like Colorado has.
Very true.
Oh man, so I'm excited to play this for you. And thank you so much for joining us. And I do hope we see you on our way through.
Yeah.
We'll have to go have a
seriously.
wiggy. Yeah. We
send me an email. I'm happy to meet you. That would be outstanding.
Yeah, we'll go meet in a park and be silly and people watch and
I can do that.
we that's it. That's what we do. We'll all go to a park we'll meet in the park, and then we'll write a story. We'll find one person.
We see.
One person. We all focus on one person, and each write a story about that person, and it'll all be different.
It's so much
and it'll
fun.
be so cool. I like it.
Yes.
I'm in. Or we'll just do like a covert stealth podcast right there going,
I'll go talk to him.
That would be fun. Oh, yeah.
I'll go talk to him, and then you guys can go, look what she's doing.
That's why airport bars are so cool.
I know, I'm good at that.
You go is that person having an affair? Anyway.
And you walk up to him and say, hey, I heard you're having an affair. Is that true?
I know.
It's so much fun.
I know. We'll get kicked out. But we want to thank JKS Communications because they're all part of what we do in regards to our tour and Love Your Parks tour. As we travel across, we have to go out and get literary stories across the country.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that? They've sent us to Steinbeck Land. We're going to do the literary tour in Santa Fe, and then we're going to come see you. So that's going to be awesome. Everyone, the book is The Throwaways by Ellis Hawker. And you can go to Amazon and get it, but just go to her website, lshawker.com, Hawker, lshawker.com. And here it is. Are you ready? It's the Red Light Shakedown. And this is from Borgo. Thank you for joining us. Take care.
You too.
We're going to shake it down.